Greetings, viewers. In the used car dealership at the moment, we have the 964 911 Carrera RS, and I bought one. And that was the free up one I already had for tuning. Because I went and created a replica Dorset commission style Porsche Carrera RS 964 reimagined by Singer. With the 3.8 litre 350 brake horsepower engine, and built by ed.pink. Which, as you can see, is available in the livery, so please feel free to download it if you so wish. So we took the base car, we installed a wide body, and also with this build, because it was from a second-hand car dealership, I restored the rigidity and did an engine overhaul. So we're starting with it from scratch. I then added the American Racing VN500 wheels. which I could have left stock, but I then painted silver GT metallic, and the vehicle itself came in Porsche Polar Silver. We didn't add any aero parts, but we did add the ducktail spoiler. Change the headlights for slightly more modern, brighter headlights. And after upgrading the brakes, put the black Brembo brake calipers on. We then added the oil cap, Porsche logos on the doors, the stripes, and a GB sticker. We added the fuel cap centrally in the bonnet. We then added the Porsche logo on the rear and the Singer signature. We added the ed.pink sticker in the rear window. Now on the real card this is a plaque displayed on the engine. Seeing that we can't open the boot or engine cover and actually see the engine, I've put the sticker in the window. Then we have the Singer Reimagined logo, which is on the glove box in the real car, and again, as we can't apply it to the glove box, I have put it in the rear quarter windows. And you can see it there on the windows. No windshield banner, and then we have put the authentic number plate from the Replica. And actually, do you know what I'm going to do? On the replica, which is right-hand drive, being a British vehicle, the oil filler cap is on the driver's side. So it is where it is on this vehicle. Seeing that day, seeing that the steering wheel has changed sides, and that the driver would be entering on the side with the oil cap. I'm going to move the oil cap to the other side. And then hide that one. Now then, tuning wise, I tried to keep it as a road build, but we had to get to the 3.8 litre with the 350 brake horsepower, and I wanted it at a usable performance point level, and I actually believe that the weight is about 100 kilograms lighter than the real vehicle. So the first thing we did was to bore up, which took us to about 3.7 litres. And then I increased the stroke, which brought us up to the 3.8 litres. And then to bring it to the 350 horsepower, we polished the ports. We put high compression pistons in with a high lift camshaft. Now these not only bring the horsepower up, but these lift it slightly in high rev range by increasing the bore and especially increasing the stroke up. This increase the power in the low to mid RPM range. So these balance that by adding extra punch to the high RPM range, and these generally increase the power and responsiveness from the engine. We applied a sports air filter with a semi-racing silencer, mainly because the original had a very nice twin exhaust that had been centrally mounted. Now I couldn't replicate that, but to attempt and for the difference in sound that it also produces, I decided to go with the semi-racing silencer rather than the sports silencer, but it's still road legal, whereas the full racing silencer wouldn't be. This also helped bring it up to the 350 horsepower mark. We then fine-tuned the engine with a fully customized computer to give us full control of the tune, and it also allowed me to slightly tweak the horsepower output, which I eventually needed to do. In line with it being a sports build, I put the sports clutch and flywheel in. We put a fully customizable LSD in with a fully customizable manual transmission. Now Singer installed a 6-gear box. Unfortunately I can't do that, so I've set the gearing in this as best as I can, but unfortunately I can't replicate the 6-speed gearbox, which is very unfortunate, but it is what it is. I'm constrained by the limitations of the game. We also put a fully customizable suspension. Now, although this is under the racing section, it doesn't actually say racing suspension. And again, this just gave me control of the full settings of the suspension, including the toe angle, the cambers, everything. We put a brake balance controller on, again, just so that I could control the brake balance, but that had no effect on performance point level. That's just for personal preference. What did have an effect on the performance point level was the drilled racing brake kit with the racing brake pads. Again, there's no semi-racing brakes like here. We could have had the semi-racing clutch and flywheel, whereas I just went with a sports clutch and flywheel. And there is none. The only thing that we could have done was sports brake pads with sports brake kit. And these, although they may have worked better with the sports tyres, struggling for the performance point level. It also allowed me to customize the colour of the brake calipers. The other thing that I did was full weight reduction. 1, 2 and 3, and increase the body rigidity with reinforcement in the body. Now Singer practically built a carbon fibre composite shell, so that would definitely be stiffer than the original body, and when they do the wide body version on it, it is a complete carbon fibre shell that they put on the car. So we've simulated that as best we can, and that's pretty much it for the tuning. And we went with the set of the sports tyres across the range. This enabled me to bring it in very nicely to 600 performance points. At the 350 brake horsepower with a weight of 1,008 kilograms. It's on the sports medium tyres. The suspension height is set to 120 front and rear. Originally I did have it a bit lower, but it was sat so low it didn't look true to the original, so we've lifted the ride height considerably. It looked too much like a race car on the default fully customizable suspension. I mean, we were down at 85s or something like that, and it was just sat too low on the road. We have a slightly stiffer anti-roll bar at the front and the rear. With slightly softer springs on the front and the rear. We have a nice amount of negative camber angle both front and rear, as is my driving preference. We have a slight toe out at the front, slight toe in at the rear. We have set the differential to 10, 20 and 10. We have rear downforce from the ducktail wing. I have reduced the engine output via the ECU to 98%, which in the build we actually went up to 357 brake horse, so bringing it dialing it back to 98%, which I think is reasonable. I think if you had a hand-built car, would you be running it at 100% all the time like a race engine? For a road car, I think to protect the engine as well, it would be dialed back ever so slightly so as not to stress the engine. So quite happy with how that worked out in the end. Then we have the manual gearbox. base setting was 270, that there was the default setting once I'd applied this gearbox, but I have manually adjusted it to give these figures. So at 85, these are in kilometers per hour, but it's about 70 miles an hour in first. No, let me get these right. Oh, I can't remember in miles an hour. It's about 50. It's about 50 miles an hour in first. 75 miles an hour in second. 100. If you change at 100, you're not quite maxing out the revs. If you change at 105, you're into the red line. For third, 140 miles an hour in fourth, and it tops out at 180 miles an hour in fifth, and that's the final ratio there. So hopefully those gear settings are overcoming the fact that it doesn't have the 6-speed gearbox of the actual real car. There's nothing added there. Like I said, we've got the sports air cleaner with a semi-racing silencer. We have the drilled discs and customizable with the brake pads giving us the customizable calipers, the brake controller set one to the rear, and a clutch and flywheel, sports clutch and flywheel. Like I said, we have the bore up and the stroke up to give us the 3.8 litre with the polished ports, high lift camshaft and high compression pistons, giving us the high rev range, the power in the high rev range, and just general performance, and the three-way reductions with the increased body rigidity to simulate the carbon fibre body shell. The old wiring loom that the car came with was apparently very heavy. I mean, they had all the wires in and connectors to be able to tow as well, and you've never seen one of these towing anything so and that was about 10 kilograms, 20 odd pounds in weight, just the old wiring loom, real solid German quality there, but just the wiring loom itself, about 10 kilograms that was removed in reality. So I'm going to end this video here, and in part well, really it's part 2 of our videos, but because I've added the Goodwood video, it's really part 3 of the build video. We will take her out for a spin. We'll give her a little tour around Europe. In some of the Clubman Cup 600 performance point level races.